When the actors and writers decided to go on strike, they probably thought, this is all going to turn out great for us. We're going to get paid more, we're going to get better benefits, and then we're just going to continue going the way things have been. Unfortunately, that is not the case because, quite frankly, we're in the midst of some of the worst years that the industry has ever seen in history. After trying to go really big with all these streaming services, it's come crashing down to the ground. All of these studios are losing money on streaming. A lot of them have been losing hundreds of millions of dollars each and every quarter, and it is not sustainable. And now in the aftermath, now that the strikes have been resolved, you've got these writers and you've got these actors that are looking at the landscape and they're saying, hey, why aren't we getting a bunch of jobs? Why aren't we working on a bunch of things? The reality is it's because woke Hollywood has failed. And now they're going to have to all tighten their belts, including some of the biggest studios out there that in a surprise move, after we heard about Warner Brothers Discovery potentially considering bankruptcy, it looks like instead of something like that, they might try to merge with another studio that's had massive problems lately, and that is Paramount. Warner Brothers Discovery, Paramount Global in merger talks. And if you've been listening to channels like mine or Nerdrotic or whoever, we've talked a lot about this landscape and the fact that it's not going to be possible for some of these people to survive, that you're going to see a lot of consolidating when it comes to streaming services and content because the way they're doing things, what they've tried to do with the streaming wars, it's all failed for Hollywood. And now the idea that Warner Brothers Discovery, which is in so much debt, which has so many cash flow problems, that they might merge. Just 3 years after the big merger with Discovery, they might try to merge with Paramount, who, even though they're not in as bad a trouble debt-wise, they still have a shit ton of debt, and they don't make nearly the same amount of money. They don't have the same market value that a place like Warner Brothers does. They're going to try to merge them and see if they can both survive a little longer in this current landscape. Warner Brothers Discovery merger talks with Paramount Global may draw out NBC Universal. We're talking about some big names right here. Let's say you have a crush on two people and you find out one of them may like you back. Do you just start dating that person or do you find out what the other person thinks too? That's where Warner Brothers finds themselves today. The company has held preliminary merger talks with Paramount Global, the media conglomerate controlled by Sherry Redstone. Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav met with Paramount Global CEO on Tuesday to discuss what a merger of the companies may look like, according to people familiar with the matter. And for the past year probably, we've heard discussions about a potential merger between them and Comcast, so NBC Universal. A lot of people think that might have a harder time going through because both those companies are so massive. Both of those companies really big. I think number 1 and number 2 this year in terms of box office revenue, whereas Paramount, although still a big studio, isn't that high up the list. This is not a case of both companies lusting for each other. It's more a partnership of necessity. Neither company has a clear future competing for content in a streaming-dominated world where Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and Google have far larger balance sheets. They just want to survive and boost their share price. This is what we're talking about. All of Hollywood has struggled this year, right? Some of them have enough cash flow to survive for a while. Others do not, especially when you have as much debt as these companies have with as little cash flow. Maybe Warner Brothers would rather merge with Comcast, NBC Universal if Comcast is open to it. There may be regulatory issues. It's unclear whether officials will allow Universal and Warner to come together. This year, they're the top 2 U.S. movie studios by revenue. While smaller than Warner Brothers or Universal, Paramount is still a top 5 studio most years. Comcast also owns cable news channel MSNBC, which may or not be a problem for regulators given Warner Brothers Discovery owns CNN. Obviously, a lot of speculation going on there, but the reality is Warner Brothers is talking to Paramount. They're talking about merging. They're talking about potentially coming together. You've got Paramount Plus and Max. They could merge those streaming services together, get a really big, basically a big catalog that could compete with some of these other rival streaming services. And when you look at some of the IPs they would be able to get their hands on, take a look at this. On the film side, Warner Brothers Discovery would acquire top-tier properties from Paramount, including film franchises like Terminator, Transformers, Mission Impossible, Top Gun, A Quiet Place, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Godfather, Paranormal Activity, Scream, and Star Trek film franchise. Well, Star Trek, that one just kind of sucks, to be honest with you at this point. They could combine their TV operations. There's a lot they could do to try to both, while they're both struggling mightily, to both try to survive a little bit longer. But the thing that always comes with these, when you have these mergers, it creates redundancies. It creates people that, well, these people would be doing the same job. We don't really need two of them, and they get fired, right? At the end of the day, what happens coming out of these mergers? They fire a fuck ton of people. They slash budgets. They take tax write-ups. They cancel things that were already in production, like something like Batgirl or whatever we've seen from Warner Brothers. And now just a few years after the merger with Discovery, it looks like Warner Brothers is attempting to do the same thing in a desperate effort to survive. For all the actors and writers who thought, hey, you know what? Everything's going to be great now. A lot of them are going to find themselves out of a job too. This is the path that Hollywood has been going down for quite some time. And now it looks like two major studios may end up merging together and create far fewer jobs for everyone in the industry. Because quite frankly, Hollywood can't afford to make the same amount of content they've been making over the last several years. And that goes across the board. What do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments section below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.